Hey guys, Connor with Doc Waterloo. This video is about using goblet squats or squatting in general to encourage hip mobility and to kind of take the place of foam rolling or or flexibility training or whatever else you might be doing for hip mobility, or at least to give you a different perspective, something else you can work on. I use squatting, a deep squat position or a weighted squat for most of my hip mobility work. And I do participate in Muay Thai, kickboxing, so there's a pretty high hip mobility demand there. I'm kind of expected to be able to get my foot up to my own head level, maybe a little bit above that as well, get fairly deep into the splits, that kind of thing. But that's not part of my training really. That's just something I'm able to do because I've worked on deep squatting and on goblet squatting and on perfecting my squat technique. If you're doing something else for hip mobility right now, that includes foam rolling or flexibility training, like just general stretching or active stretching or whatever it might be, you should consider working this into your program because it's a more complete approach than those things. Just foam rolling a tissue might relax the tissue, might make it more pliable, but it doesn't allow you to actually use that more pliable tissue in a functional way per se. And same thing with flexibility training. I can stretch my hips like crazy, but if I do not teach my hips to actually work in a way that I'm gonna need in the future, then I haven't really gotten myself any further ahead. I've just increased my performance on an isolated stretch. So squatting takes care of both of those things. In the bottom position of a squat, or even for some people halfway down into a full squat, the mobility demands on the hip are pretty significant, both on the hip joints and on all the muscles around the hips, including the hamstrings, but also the strength requirement in those tissues is there as well. So all those muscles have to contribute to stabilize the hip and to stabilize the body and stop you from toppling over. Same thing with the core muscles too. They have to provide some co-contraction to make sure that the glutes and the hamstrings have something to push against. So it kind of encapsulates core training, mobility training all into one. It's a lot of bang for your buck. So generally I would start people off with a goblet squat. You can use a light plate or a dumbbell or kettlebell or a 4-liter water jug or something like that. The purpose of the weight is just to counterbalance your weight. So the weight doesn't make the exercise harder. It actually makes it easier. If you compare a goblet squat compared to just a body weight squat, and most people, they're going to perform better with a goblet squat. They'll be able to get deeper and with better technique. It's just because you're shifting that center of gravity forward a little bit. So if I take my 10-pound plate, I put it in front of my chest a little bit, and I just hold everything else steady, sit my hips back and down, try to get all the way down to that bottom position with a nice straight spine, and without my knees moving too far forward. Then there's a significant stability demand on the glutes and the hamstrings and the core, and a big requirement of mobility in my hip and in my back. So same thing from the front. So sitting back and down, sparing my knees a little bit. When I get down into that bottom position, I can feel a great pull in the hamstrings and the adductors and the groin, and I mean it just captures everything that really tightens up on people while I'm strengthening my glutes and strengthening my core. So relatively simple exercise. Again, the weight helps you. It's not a hindrance. Doesn't make it harder for you. So start working this into your routine if you haven't already. If you routinely squat, then consider doing some pause squats in the bottom position, or making sure that you can get into that bottom position with the tibias relatively vertical and with a straight spine, and that will encourage some pretty adequate hip mobility for most people.